You're a great guy? For a woman who wants a child, not a man. She scoffed before leaving me for her boss. So I just packed a bag and moved into my brother's place. Now her ex-lover is back with his wife, and she's trying to find me. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The thing about building a life with someone is that you get used to the weight of it. The shared mortgage, the dog who sleeps at the foot of the bed, the chipped coffee mug that only one of you uses. You stop seeing it as a burden and start seeing it as the foundation. 4 or 5 years, that's what I thought I was doing with Qley. Building a life. A real one. The kind of life my dad had with my mom. Stable, reliable, safe. I was the rock. It's a boring, cliché role, but it was mine. I was the one who remembered to pay the bills, who fixed the leaky faucet, who cooked dinner when she was too tired. I supported her through a job change, a difficult family crisis, and a quarter-life identity freakout. My stability wasn't something I saw as a weakness, it was my strength. It was the thing that allowed her to be carefree, to pursue her passion projects and take risks. I was the backstop, the safety net, the calm in the storm. But over the last 6 months, something changed. It started subtly. She'd come home later from work, always with a new story about her boss, Derek. At first, I didn't think anything of it. He was a successful guy, a startup founder. She'd gush about his vision, his boldness, how he was a man who wasn't afraid to risk everything for what he wanted. I'd listen and nod along, maybe make a joke about how I preferred not risking our retirement fund on some crazy crypto venture. The jokes didn't land as well as they used to. Then the little comments started. You're so predictable, Mark. Don't you ever want to just do something crazy? I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd just brush it off as stress from work. The gentle nudges turned into sharp criticisms. My stability became a flaw. My careful planning became boring. Our quiet evenings became stagnant. I told myself it was just a phase. I even started looking at engagement rings. I figured a commitment to our life together was what she really needed. I was so wrong. I finally decided to have the serious talk. I'd picked up the ring a few days earlier, and it was burning a hole in my pocket. We were sitting in the living room, the dog asleep at our feet, a scene of perfect domesticity. Qley, I started, we need to talk. She sighed, a heavy, theatrical sound that was nothing like the woman I knew. About what, Mark? The mortgage? The dog? The same safe little life we've been living? The same boring routine? She didn't even look at me. She was scrolling through her phone, her thumb moving with an almost cruel casualness. A knot formed in my stomach. No, about us. About where we're going. I feel like something has shifted. She finally looked up, her face a blank canvas of detachment. The warmth was gone. The humor was gone. All that was left was a sort of cold, clinical pity. It's shifted, all right. Because I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. I'm moving in with Derek. The words hit me like a physical blow. A cold wave washed over me, numbing my face. I couldn't speak. I just stared at her. Derek? Your boss? What are you talking about? She laughed then. A short, dismissive sound that held no joy. Oh, come on, Mark. You couldn't have actually thought I was going to stay with you forever, could you? Derek is a man who knows what he wants. He's a leader. He's not afraid to risk everything for what he wants. You're a great guy. For a woman who wants a child, not a man. The words sliced right through me, but I didn't flinch. I just sat there, looking at this stranger. She called my stability childish. My loyalty, my quiet support, my love. She saw it as a weakness, a thing for women who needed to be babied. She was so smug, so confident. She stood up, tossing her phone onto the sofa. I'm done, Mark. I'm going to pack my things. She turned to walk away, a triumphant look on her face, like she'd just won a game I didn't even know we were playing. I finally found my voice. It wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was just calm. Okay, I said. I'll get my things too. She stopped and turned back, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. What? I stood up, feeling a strange sense of clarity. The knot in my stomach was gone. It was replaced by an emptiness that felt both terrifying and liberating. I said, okay, I'll pack a bag and go. You can have the apartment. You can have the dog. You can have the furniture. It's all yours. I walked past her and headed to the bedroom, leaving her standing there in the living room, completely speechless. That's the thing about a life built on a foundation of shared routines. When it shatters, it shatters silently. There was no screaming, no accusations, no begging. I just went into the bedroom we'd shared for 5 years and pulled a duffel bag out of the closet. Qley followed me, but she didn't say anything. She just leaned against the doorframe, watching me, her triumphant expression now replaced with a puzzled frown. I think she expected a fight. She expected tears. She expected me to crumble at her feet and plead with her to stay. That's the part that really hurts, looking back. Not the cheating, but the fact that she had so little respect for me that she expected me to be a pathetic wreck. I only packed the essentials, a few shirts, some jeans, toiletries, my laptop. I left my favorite worn-out sweater on the bed, the one she always stole and wore, and my half of the books we'd collected on the shelves. As I zipped up the bag, she finally spoke. "What are you doing, Mark? We can talk about this." I didn't even look at her. "There's nothing to talk about, Qley. You made your choice. I'm making mine." I walked back into the living room, grabbing my car keys from the hook by the front door. The apartment felt like a museum, a place I had once lived in but no longer belonged to. I paused for a second and looked at the chipped coffee mug on the counter. It felt alien. I set my keys on the table, right next to where the mail usually went. "The keys are yours. The apartment is in both our names, but I'll take care of the legal stuff. The dog is a lot to deal with on your own, but if you need help, I'm sure you can call a friend." My voice was flat, like I was discussing a business transaction. She looked at the keys, then at me. "Mark, don't do this. Don't be like this." "Like what?" I asked, turning to face her. "Like the man who takes you at your word? You said you didn't want a man like me, so I'm leaving. What did you expect?" She had no answer. She just stood there, her mouth slightly agape, the smug confidence she'd worn moments before completely gone. The silence hung in the air, heavy and final. I turned and walked out the door, closing it softly behind me. I didn't look back. I drove to my brother's place on the other side of town. He and his wife, Sarah, were surprised to see me show up on their doorstep at 10 p.m. with nothing but a duffel bag. They asked a million questions, but I just gave them the short version. "Qley's with someone else." I left. They were furious on my behalf, but I couldn't match their anger. I was just numb. I was running on autopilot. The next day, I didn't reach out to anyone. I didn't post some cryptic sad boy message on social media. I blocked Qley on every platform: phone, text, Instagram, everything. I blocked her family and her friends, too. I didn't want the updates. I didn't want the "I'm so sorry's," or the "what happens," or the "you deserved betters." I just wanted to be alone with my emptiness. The first few weeks were a blur. I went to work, came home, ate dinner with my brother and Sarah, and went to bed. They gave me space. I'd catch them whispering sometimes, casting worried glances my way, but they didn't push me. I appreciated that. My numbness started to fade after a month. It was replaced with a quiet, focused determination. Qley's words had been a slap in the face, a cold bucket of water that woke me up. I had been so comfortable, so focused on building a safe life for us, that I had lost sight of building a life for myself. I saw my stability not as a rock, but as an anchor that had held me in place while the world passed me by. I started running in the mornings. I signed up for a coding class at night, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for. I took a promotion at work that I had always shied away from because it required more travel. I wasn't doing this to get back at Qley. I was doing it because for the first time in a long time, my life was truly my own. I wasn't building a future for us. I was building a future for me. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger requires an emotional connection, a belief that the other person is still worthy of your frustration. Qley wasn't. She was just a person I used to know. The only feeling I had for her was a strange kind of pity, not because she'd made a bad choice, but because she'd so casually discarded someone who had genuinely loved her, all for the promise of a life that felt flimsy and fake. And that made all the difference. 2 months passed, then 3. My life had become a blur of work, class, and the gym. My brother, Liam, and his wife, Sarah, were my only social circle, and I was grateful for it. They respected my boundaries and never brought Qley up. They never asked for updates, and I never volunteered them. She was a ghost, an old apartment lease, a memory that felt like it belonged to someone else. The first crack in my carefully constructed wall of silence came from Liam. We were having a beer one evening, watching a game. He'd just come back from a work event where he'd run into a mutual friend from our old social circle, a guy named Chris. "Hey man," Liam said, his voice unusually low. Chris said he saw Qley. I didn't react. I just took a sip of my beer. "Oh yeah. Yeah," he continued, glancing at me to gauge my reaction. There was none, so he kept going. He said things didn't work out with Derek. My internal voice was completely flat. No surprise there. Apparently, Liam went on, Derek's a married man. His wife found out. She's some big shot, a lawyer or something, and she's not messing around. Chris said she put it all on social media, everything. The whole story. Derek's business is getting hit with a ton of lawsuits, and his reputation is ruined. He's been forced to step down. I felt a faint flicker of something, but it wasn't satisfaction. It was just a cold, distant acknowledgement. A cause and effect. So he's back with his wife? I asked, my voice still even. Trying to be. He dumped Qley the second his wife found out. Told her she was a liability and a mistake. Kicked her out of his apartment. Liam fell silent, waiting for a response, a reaction, anything. But there was nothing. I just nodded slowly, my eyes still fixed on the TV. It was the same old story. Cheater gets cheated on. Narcissist gets exposed. Karma came for her, but I felt nothing. No anger, no vindication, no pleasure. The man who would have celebrated that moment had packed a bag and moved out months ago. I was someone else now, a bystander watching a train wreck from a safe distance. A few weeks later, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. I was at the gym, scrolling through news on my phone while on the elliptical. A headline caught my eye from a local business blog. Scandal-plagued tech company layoffs follow CEO's downfall. I clicked on it. There was a photo of Derek, looking haggard and defeated. I read on. The article mentioned that many of the company's top executives had also been let go as a result of the fallout, including a key marketing manager, Qley's position. I put my phone back in my pocket. So she was homeless, jobless, and completely alone. She was living the exciting, high-risk life she'd chosen. It was just a shame for her that it had all come crashing down. The feeling of indifference was the most profound part of it all. I had been so convinced that the unfairness of her betrayal would always haunt me, that her words would be a constant wound. But they weren't. They were just the last words of a stranger. She had walked away from me, but in reality, she had been the one who had disappeared. The woman who had loved me was gone. The woman who had mocked my life was a stranger. And the stranger was now reaping the consequences of her own choices. I was not a part of her story anymore. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. I got the first text a few days after I read the article. It came from an unknown number. My phone buzzed in my hand, and a small part of me, a part one thought was long dead, felt a jolt. The message read, "Mark, it's Qley. I need to talk to you. Please." I felt nothing. No anger, no pity. Just a faint annoyance, like a mosquito buzzing at my ear. I deleted the message and blocked the number. A week later, another text came through from a different number. "Mark, I know you heard what happened. He's a monster. He used me. I was so stupid. I just want to explain. Please." I didn't respond. The desperation was a different flavor than her earlier smugness, but it was still just as toxic. She was still a victim in her own story, not a person who had made a series of cruel choices. I deleted the text and blocked the number. Then the messages started to shift. The pleas turned into demands, the sorrow into anger. "Why are you ignoring me? I lost everything. Don't you care about me at all? Don't you feel anything?" My internal response was a quiet, firm no. I had spent months building my peace. She wasn't getting in. One evening, I was with Liam and Sarah at a birthday party for a mutual friend, Chris. It was a low-key gathering at a bar downtown. I was there talking to a woman named Julia, a friend of Sarah's who was a graphic designer. She was funny, smart, and completely unpretentious. We were laughing about something ridiculous when I saw her. Qley stood in the doorway, scanning the room. She looked different. Her hair was a little messy, her clothes less put together. The polished, confident woman who had walked away from me was gone. In her place was someone who looked worn out and desperate. Her eyes met mine across the room. She saw me laughing with Julia, a genuine, easy smile on my face. The smile that she had said wasn't enough. Her eyes widened in a flicker of shock and recognition. She walked straight towards me, her face a mask of panic and relief. "Mark," she said, her voice a hoarse whisper. She put a hand on my arm, and I instinctively took a step back. Julia looked at me, then at Qley, and discreetly walked away. We need to talk. I've been trying to reach you. Her eyes were pleading, but her grip on my arm was tight. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. I know. My voice was calm, almost bored. I made a mistake, Mark. Derek, he was a lie. I was so naive. He was never going to leave his wife. He used me. Everything he promised was fake. Tears welled up in her eyes. I have nowhere to go. I lost my job, my apartment. My family isn't helping me. Everyone I thought was on my side is gone. She was waiting for me to say it. For me to say, I'm sorry, that's awful. For me to reach out and pull her into a hug. She expected the old Mark, the rock, the man she could run to when the tide turned. I just stared at her. My expression remained completely blank. She seemed to falter under my gaze. Mark, please. You have to help me. I never should have left you. I was so stupid. I'll do anything. We can go back to how things were. I miss our life. I miss you. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. I finally spoke, my voice a quiet, firm cut through her desperate pleas. The man you're talking to, the one who will help you and go back to how things were, he isn't here anymore. You made sure of that. She looked stunned. What? What are you talking about? I just stared at her, and then I slowly, deliberately, said the words she had used to humiliate me. You're a great woman, Qley. For a man who wants a child, not a partner. Her face crumpled. Her mouth opened in a silent gasp. The words, when I said them, were an echo of her own contempt, but my delivery had none of her smug cruelty. It was just a statement of fact. I continued, my voice calm. You needed a man who could give you more. You needed someone exciting and ambitious. So, I took your words to heart. I started my own company. I'm taking a coding class, and I'm traveling for work now. My life is far from boring now. The man you left, he's gone. And I'm not him. You said you needed a man who would take risks. Well, I risked everything and started over. I don't need to go back to how things were. I'm happy with how they are now. I looked at her, and she saw it in my eyes. Not anger, not hatred, just absolute, complete indifference. Her tears meant nothing to me. Her shame meant nothing to me. She was a stranger who was interrupting my evening. I turned my back on her, walked over to Julia, and smiled. Sorry about that. My past just tried to come back from the dead. Qley was left standing in the middle of the crowded bar, her shoulders shaking, her face a mask of public humiliation. She had mocked my safe, quiet life. Now, she was left with nothing but chaos, while my new, better life was just getting started. I never saw her again. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.